This is Gemma Redgrave, and you're listening to Gallifrey Public Radio.
This is Gallifrey Public Radio, dedicated to positive enjoyment of Doctor Who. We travel through classic and new episodes, explore the extended universe, and play a few games from time to time. We do discuss news, content that has been officially released, and the occasional interesting rumor, but we'll warn you before anything considered spoilers comes up.
Welcome to episode 519 of Gallifrey Public Radio. I'm Jay.
I'm Julie.
I'm Kier.
And I'm Haley. This week, we're finally into the first full season of the 15th Doctor, kicking off with Space Babies.
Because that's what you do, right? You always start off a season with space babies.
I don't see why not.
But the point is, it doesn't matter where I come from, because I am absolutely lovely, aren't I? That wasn't rhetorical, Pops.
Yes, you are.
And you want to know my secret? There's no one like me in the whole wide universe. No one like me exists, and that's true of everyone. It's not a problem, Captain Pops. It's a superpower. High five.
Well, quick off the cuff. Thumbs up, thumbs down. How we feel?
Is every episode this season going to be based on a movie? This one is Baby Geniuses.
Maybe? Has the CGI improved since Baby Geniuses? That was like the early aughts, right?
I think they just put peanut butter in their mouths like Mr. Ed.
I liked it. I liked the sheer joy that you get from the Doctor in some of the discovery moments. But I think there were some parts that I definitely was like, that's a choice that was made.
I think that the chemistry between the Doctor and his new companion is tremendous. Like you can tell that they are both firing on all cylinders right out the gate. They love being around each other. There's no moments of contention, and just even when the Doctor is giving Ruby direct instructions like, no, you're going to go and do this. I have to handle this. And she just immediately blows him off like, oh, you're trying to leave me behind? Yeah, no. And she just walks, and the Doctor smiles. Like, it was just, those interactions were great. Yeah.
Our two leads were fantastic. We got hints of how their chemistry was going to be in Church on Ruby Road, but seeing them into the real swing of it, episode even opening with the needle right back down on the record at the spot where Ruby's walking in for the first time. She gets that introduction, and the adventure begins. The two of them thoroughly revel in one another's presence, and being able to offer and take gifts on the level of enthusiasm within a particular scene, or finding energy levels that, if any other pairing, might feel a little over the top at times. Like, oh, that can't be genuine. They couldn't possibly be, quite that excited or what have you about the situation. But from them, it feels absolutely acceptable because they are two effervescent people.
And it's nice to have a Doctor, excited about his companion again. He's delighted to have her there the whole time.
Kind of shades of Tennant when he really got in comfortable with Rose, and they had their, the Daddy-O Idiot's Lantern, kind of just really enjoying the adventures.
Yeah, but speaking of Rose, there were some familiar tones for people that have been with the show since the Eccleston era. You have the new companion being introduced to the greater universe, standing in front of a giant picture window, looking out into space, asking about their mom, at which point the Doctor fixes their phone and says, call your... It felt a little same.
If it ain't broke.
It was very checking the boxes. It was Russell was like, no, these are the boxes I have to check with my companion, so let me check them. Like, even though we haven't done that in a decade. Phone upgrade, here's a key.
But the thing that got me was like, they kind of set the tone there, like, okay, we're doing the introduction, we're going to show the new audience what it's like to travel with the Doctor. And all of the stuff that got thrown out, all of the exposition was, it felt real clunky for people that had watched the show, because we know all of this and you're just throwing it out there willy-nilly. But for new viewers, like, it was thrown out so carelessly and so it was hard for them to pick up on it. So it didn't relay the information that it needed to the people that needed it, and it just got in the way for the people that didn't.
See, and I feel like it kicked off. We always get some sort of teach the new viewers what's going on. But it also felt really natural for the characters to go through that. And that's what I did like about it, because if you don't get that between the Doctor and Ruby, then she's abandoning everything with no questions and no answers back. And so I understand that it did feel a little bit like it was a lot up front, and then my hope is that now we've covered that, we don't have to address it again, because at least we got it in for the new viewers. And then if they are viewers who become long-term fans, they'll come back and watch this, or they'll jump back to 2005 and they'll get little pieces of it. It's more spread out in those episodes when we first came back at that, but you'll get it again. And then they start to realize, oh, this isn't brand new. This is something that has been going on for so long. And it kind of establishes that this is the pattern that, like, it is kind of checking the boxes or a pattern, but I appreciated it and I liked it because it's a good reminder of we're starting over.
Yeah, I'm glad that they put it in there, because you are trying to grab a whole new audience. Like, the ramp up for this was incredible. Like, IMDb on Friday was covered in Doctor Who. It was amazing. But so, like, you're clearly trying to get new people in, so you have to give them that information. I just don't know that it was handled tremendously well, because it was, like you said, previously it was spread out. Yeah. This time it was like all kind of right there in your face, like, here, take all of this at the same time we're trying to tell you a complete story.
I do just think that we're getting so much of it up front because they're going to just kick us into high gear now with, I mean, I don't know another way to do it. Probably there is, because there are comments and questions about was it the right way for it to be handled. But I think when you do it in a slower pace, you get the series that we used to have where there were more episodes, and we don't have that luxury.
I hope that in some of those instances, Jay, where you were pointing out that the necessary exposition, the things that the anchors that need to be placed so that we can move forward with this madcap alien and all the things that normally come along with the show's basic mechanics, we'll get the opportunity in subsequent episodes to have their slight expansion, just to move a little farther on that, so that you can maybe even work it into the dialogue to say, remember when I told you this is what it is, and it sort of lets that breathe a bit. It's not my ideal means of storytelling. It requires a little bit of rewatching from brand new viewers to make sure that they've got those questions, write them down in the back of your brain so that you can get them resolved later or what have you. But it is formulaic because it works by and large.
And Ruby does kind of, like, at the beginning, the Doctor's like, my planet and this, that, and the other 1,000 years ago or whatever. And Ruby's like, okay, heard that, park that, heard the other one, double park, so she's like, there is information that is being given here that we will have to circle back to, but there's too much going on right now. So it's hopefully for new viewers, it's enough to trigger them to be like, okay, you're going to get a lot of stuff thrown at you here. We will come back to it.
I think there were actually a couple of scenes where, and credit to Gibson on being able to actually convey this oftentimes without even dialogue to back it up, where the Doctor has just dumped all of this stuff on her and she's reacting to the first thing that was said, trying to make sure she heard correctly the second thing that she heard, and the penny has not yet dropped on the third thing that was in that phrase, that as the scene is cutting away, wait, what? And then boom, we're on to the next scene. So you can tell that she's being handed these confusion sandwiches. Confusion sandwiches.
I mean, another one of those things we get is at the very end of the episode when he tells her, like, oh, we can't go back to that moment where your mother was at the church because of the paradox of it. And for seasoned viewers, we know that this is the doctor speaking explicitly from experience, from Rose and Father's Day. But for new viewers, it's like, oh, I kind of know a little bit about time travel. We can't cause a paradox. But also, as TV viewers, you've told us we can't go there. So now we know for sure we're going to go there and something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. It's the button. And as the doctor said many, many times within the first few minutes of the episode, push the button.
I did feel like some of that was him figuring out who he is. He's like, oh, I'm the guy who pushes the button. This iteration of me, we push the button. And I hope that continues, because if all we get is this one episode of the doctor pushing the button, then it's going to be like, you made a big deal out of that multiple times with all different shapes and glowy amounts on these buttons for it to just be like a one episode because we were on this one space station that had a lot of buttons. Like you're making the sets, just add buttons.
Well, there were so many buttons.
It's true.
You know what else he made a point of mentioning more than a dozen times? Space babies.
No, babies.
Yeah.
Wait, space babies.
Or at times, babies, oh sorry, space babies, as if he's apologizing to someone for not addressing them as space babies.
Because regular babies and space babies.
It was as if it was the name that they had and not one he made up when he saw them.
Okay.
He's reminding himself that these are not just regular babies, but also, like, clearly they are babies in outfits that match a ranking system and can speak in, for the most part, very technical jargon, but they still need to be held and cuddled, which I loved so much. And I think that was very sweet moments of, when's the last time you had a hug? Never. That's very emotional and connecting this doctor with the world and allowing for so much of that history and connection to come through.
To that end, I fully appreciate that it was actually written into the dialogue for either the doctor or Ruby, or at times both of them, to react in exactly the way that the audience is reacting to certain things. You know, Captain Poppy says, you know, that she's never been hugged, and everybody who's watching at home is going, oh, just as the doctor says, oh,
come here, Pops.
Yeah. Ruby makes her statement about, are they being grown for food? And everybody at home is going, what? Just as the doctor, what? No, what? So, you know, it's a nice dialed in dialogue, I guess. In that.
And I will say that it's very dialed in for the doctor, who doesn't usually get to be the one to react to things. Usually it's other people explaining or reacting as the audience. And it's really fun to have the doctor be the audience representation in those moments.
Well, because most of the audience is now at the point of knowing more than the companion. So the doctor is the one that has the audience level of knowledge and gets to react the way that we're reacting.
Yeah.
For a big part of the audience.
It's the sitting back and allowing for the guided discovery. And then at the times when the discovery, when the lesson that's gleaned from the situation is a little bit different than what the syllabus says that you were supposed to have learned, that's when the doctor's like, no, wait, that wasn't the point. You know, that's not what you're supposed to take away from this. Is really appreciated.
Yeah. The eating moment was almost too much. I'm so glad that was like, excuse me.
I'm still, Julie, I know you've watched this a couple of times, and I'm sure Jay Haley, you've watched this at least 1.5, 3, 5.5 times. The giddiness with which the doctor reacts when putting the bogeyman up on the screen and laughing as the babies scream.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was very much Uncle the Doctor moment.
I'm sorry, I was just messing with him. I'm just messing with him. It's okay.
It kind of ties into the theme of why the monster is there, though. It's to teach a lesson, and we get that as the resolution, which is why they want to save it. And the adult has gone too far to take away what all stories need. But yeah, that moment of just, oh, I'm so sorry. And his reaction with like that loud yell, I loved it.
Well, and I liked the fact that they kind of a little bit stuck with the consistency of the science behind it, where the doctor points out like the roar specifically, you know, the infrasound is what's doing it. So when it's up on the screen, he's fine with it and he's looking at it and he's trying to figure it out. But when he's there faced with it, that's when he turns around and runs.
Yeah, that was a big moment for the doctor to face, why am I running? I'm scared. Why am I scared? I don't get scared. It's creatures are, or even monsters are just creatures we haven't met yet, which I think is an overused line. And I know we've heard it so many different places. I just can't remember if it's been used in Doctor Who already or if it's everywhere else in TV. But having that moment of, I should go towards this, but oh no, I'm just running. And then squeezing into a little elevator. Like, how do you know that that's what that is?
They just had to get away. They didn't care.
Could have been a broom closet.
It could have been the garbage chute. It was just the preferable.
It was one or the other, a lift or an exit.
I don't know. Watched through it a few times. The first time through it, it was just, you know, it's the present opening at the holiday, so you know everything is shiny and wonderful, and you take every joke as being fantastic, you take every reference as being fantastic. And the second time through, I got a better appreciation for it and what it was really attempting to do, and seeing where some of the connective threads are with some of our theories about the idea of the superstition or the breaking down or the blurring along the edges of reality and what's actually capable within this universe that we thought we've established for the show. I don't know if it fully landed for me, Jay, to your point as to being the handover episode that you would give to somebody and say, well, you want to know what Doctor Who is about? Why don't you watch this one? I don't know if I would reach for this one, but I don't know if that's necessarily because of the fact that it starts off with a children's story made manifest kind of a premise, or whether it's just because we've had a couple of really good examples of the walk through, you know, your Doctor Who 101 that have been done so well that the bar was set extremely high.
Yeah, I think somebody had said something to the effect of, when you're a seasoned Whovian, you understand that there is a level of goofball, of whimsy, of that kind of thing. If you're trying to hand this to somebody who has not been indoctrinated yet, the level of whimsy is a little high. It creates kind of a barrier to entry. And I wonder if that's not true. If it's because if you look at like the 11th Doctor, that's one of the more, as ridiculous as it sounds, it is a more grounded story that it's easier to jump in on if you haven't reached the level of goofiness the Doctor can reach sometimes. Whereas this one, it's assuming that you're going to accept a lot of things that you normally wouldn't watching any other TV show.
We had singing gremlins in the last episode, so I think this is actually more grounded.
Yeah, that's my counter argument right now, is that anyone coming to this on Disney Plus in the US is getting this as episode number 2.
Right.
So they have an introduction that has none of that. It's got the Doctor trying to read rope and goblins and a timeline wibbly wobbly that you don't even understand. We don't even understand yet as seasoned viewers. And then you get the exposition to say, okay, let's pump the brakes, go through some of the basics. Also, if you step on a butterfly and I haven't turned on the right switch yet, you're going to turn into a green scaly alien that has a very different interaction structure with other beings.
Look like Vastra, have the attitude of Strax. Got it.
Yeah.
Does not make mistakes.
So I think, right. So I think that you get a little bit of leeway with that. And I don't know how it is being presented to potential new viewers on other platforms. And so I would wonder if they're trying to find that balance. And then it was just a matter of either we get this in or not.
You really have to take the two of them together to be your primer. Because I think one of the things that really serves the predecessors as far as episode 1 introductory episodes. What serves them well is the fact that they are grounded, earthbound, and you take what you think you know and it starts to, expand in front of your eyes into something more fantastical. If you were to take this one on its own, you're immediately vaulted to to whatever century we were at, where human colonization is out there, and you've gone full blown sci-fi from the jump. So yeah,
plus dinosaurs.
Right. Yeah. So you get to bookend all of humankind.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I just thought that was so fun, and watching with a very much younger audience, we got so much just pure joy at some of those moments that I don't know who the target audience is. I think you're going to hit a potentially much younger audience with, again, Disney Plus. I don't know how they're rating it because I didn't look at that, but that kind of exposure for this show, I think, is what it needs to continue to grow. And then the hope would obviously be that someone dials in this season, knocks their socks off, and then they're going to go back if they can find it and follow on up through. But I will say, with that potentially being in one of our target audiences trying to bring them in, I did not like the cheap shot with the fart joke at the end as the solution. Like, why not just have the TARDIS
tugboat
draw them over there? Or I think you had said a tugboat, or I don't know, fix an engine that failed and they couldn't do anything with it. Literally any other option rather than showing a butt-shaped ship that explodes out the back. Just a bit.
Because they could do a fart joke. I don't know if you know, but farts are always funny. Ask your 7-year-old.
7-year-old did not laugh. I was like, why is that happening?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's true.
Kids these days.
I know. I appreciate it. It's my kid, probably why. But
there you go.
Trained
Jay's kids would have laughed.
Yeah. So, but I do think that the overall fun level was raised in this episode while still having some of that terror and the monster of the week vibe with having that, but it not being the immediate jump off, I need to solve this monster problem. It was introduced, kind of went away, came back up, and then had its moment.
Mm-hmm. And finding the necessity of the adversarial character, which is something Doctor Who does so well, saying, well, yes, it's painted to be the evil thing that we need to fight and kill, but we're going to find its redemption or its rationale somewhere along the way. So that's always, it is tropey for this show, but I think it's tropey because it works so well at an emotional level. I'm personally, one of my takeaways from this episode that I'm going to genuinely enjoy, and I guess I probably enjoy it particularly because I really didn't have a whole lot of backstory on her, because I am not a Bridgerton watcher, was that I loved the Jocelyn character, Nani, as portrayed by Golda Rochevelle, and I wasn't really familiar with a whole lot of her work, but I love it, love it, when you've got really strong lead characters, but then you've got this fantastic supporting cast, even if it's just one person who is doing amazing lifting on the story. And I think she was incredible.
No, she was fantastic. I think the clever uses of the nanny filter occasionally was great. It gave her an edge without having to really cross a line. And it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved that. And I recognized her immediately. Mm-hmm. And then I did my whole point at the screen, and Kira's like, what? I was like, she is somebody. And I looked at her, I was like, oh, you don't know. Oh, okay. She's good. And then as it unfolded, I just kept, I just love seeing her in a different space that's more very different from Queen Charlotte, intensely. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was really nice to see her there. And yeah, the nanny filter, I think that's the moment that got Jacob the most, I believe. Giggling was kind of hearing the two sides. Yeah.
Well, I know one of the big things that a lot of the haters have been talking about is how political the show has gotten. It's never been political before. And this episode, that didn't go away. We had commentary on like the pro-life versus pro-birth discussion, refugees. I think you're going to have to deal with it if you're still watching the show. It's not going away.
Yeah.
Russell pulled no punches on that one. He was just like, look, either get in on what we're doing or just go away now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And from multiple points, I think, too, with, like you're saying, what are baby factories? Why would we need them in a future like that? If they outlaw kissing and you have to still make people. And then something where it's like the refugees, like they'll never come get you. You have to make your physical way there, even on a spaceship. It's respecting that distance is still something that you have to do, whether you are out in outer space or you're in another country trying to get somewhere now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, giving Ruby that response of like when somebody made the comment, I think it was Jocelyn who was saying something like, it's like, I know it sounds strange. And Ruby was like, no, not really. Like it makes part, like tying that to current events was just really just kind of refusing to let it slide.
Yeah. Like almost like the Cylons, right? It's the thing that has happened before, continues to happen. It's always going to happen. We never fix it. We never deal with it.
Right.
But not giving it an excuse, just pointing to it and being like, yes, it is still here. It is still something we deal with.
Because it's us. Hi. We're the problem. It's
Hi,
us.
humans. Have you met us? We're the problem.
and having each one of the crew members who was leaving and recording their end of watch thing being like, I want to go on the record that this is terrible. Yeah. I'm filing complaints and this, that, and the other. And like, yeah, it was great.
And they did. And 6 years later, those kids are still
nothing
out
changed.
there.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also within that, as much as there are the statements being made that are Russell and company's opportunity to be able to say, yes, this is science fiction, and science fiction is an exaggeration or amplification of the world that we live in, made into something unusual or unexpected. It's the nature of sci-fi. So yes, you're going to get these because we've always been doing these. Expect more of these. If you didn't see it before, it was because you were so deep into it that you had the blinders on a little too tight. But then, in addition, there is the fact that there is the explicit effort being made to put the strengthening aspects and messages in there, almost bookended with that, with the discussion of the value of life is also the value of the individual. And yes, there's nobody else out there like me. And that's a fantastic thing. That empowers me and it can empower you. And that just, those things, especially coming from Gatwa, who knows how to carry that, because if you've heard from his interviews and things like that, all the experiences that he's had through his young but still storied career so far, can speak to that and say, yeah, you're going to push through a whole lot and you're going to get a whole lot of pushback because of who you are. You can either let that drag you down or you can use that to galvanize you and make you even better. So I think it carries a lot of weight coming from somebody like that, and the way that he delivers it has all of that strength.
Even down to the snot monsters on the bottom of the ship.
Snot monsters, yeah.
They did do the dad joke of, it's snot. Yeah, no, it's not.
Yep.
It's something different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That realization of Ruby, though, I think is... I know she's intelligent. I know she's smart. But it took the Doctor saying 3 or 4 times... No, you know what it is.
It's in the name. It's in the name. What are you saying?
It's in the name. You saw them blowing their noses upstairs. It's in the name. I think it was so many times. And then finally it hits her. I have to wonder if she just was trying to refuse to let it be what it was.
If she doesn't accept it, then that's not the reality.
Yes.
Right.
And that's not what's in her hair.
It's just another day on the Nickelodeon set.
Right. I think I said that. I was like, oh, Nickelodeon slime. I had to check. I'm like, wait, no, this is still Disney. We're not on Nickelodeon anymore. But I think that also showed a very fun interaction between the two of them. Even in times of disgusting circumstances or the scary ones, they're still so calm and at ease with each other that it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. which carries us really comfortably into the next episode that we get like minutes later. Thanks, Disney. That was awesome.
A couple little things. We had the Ronnie name checked in this, which we had discussed that there was a Ronnie reference cut from one of the specials with David Tennant.
It's true.
So we got that now, which is interesting if they're setting the stage for something or just taunting the fans.
I think it's more the latter. I think at this point, because I did, and thank you for jogging my mind on this. This did handle a nice balance between really enjoying classic references and trying to do some new things with the franchise as well. That was struck very well. But yeah, I think at this point, all of those classic little bits and name checks and things, maybe with an exception or two, but I think most of them that Russell's putting in there are just prods. Like, I know you're watching. Even those of you who said you weren't going to watch the show anymore because I'm ruining it. I know you're watching. This is for you. Have
we heard the other names before?
Oh, like the Conquistador and things like that?
I'm sorry, you pronounced it wrong? The Conquistador?
I'm sorry, the Conquistador. Yes. Yeah. They're established. There was nobody new thrown into that mix. That mix.
I just wasn't sure if they had been Time Lords that we've met previously or seen versus
or
just
in audios and books, something.
Right, random. Like they didn't mention the meddling monk, but I know we've heard of him before, and the monk specifically, and things like that.
I'm waiting to hear them mention the meddling monk one more time, but I think I'm going to wait another 10 years for that one.
And then it seemed like the Doctor was telling them his real name when he walked off the TARDIS. Like we as the audience didn't hear it, but he said it.
No, and it wasn't in the dialogue, and it was intentionally just left there as that sort of dangling thing. But the fact that he's so free to be able to just walk right out and say what it is? What?
Or was he just saying, they call me the Doctor again?
Yeah, it was the same speech he gave Ruby. He just changed some of the Time Lords' names before he walked out. He would have walked out and been like, I'm the Doctor.
Right. But we never know. We'll never know. But I think that is also something that we did. I've kind of skipped over the end in my mind, but the scan that he took and whether... how quickly he will get results, what it's telling him versus what we don't know it's telling him because it's going to come out in an episode or a few.
Well, the TARDIS Diagnostic Labs is incredibly slow. It took 9 months to run a pregnancy test on Amy.
Yeah, that's true.
It's still just a machine. It doesn't know. It's not a doctor. Not a real doctor.
Not that kind of doctor.
I do have a little quarter here in my pocket. I'm willing to put it down. This is a long shot. So this is a quarter that may very, very quickly leave my hands, but I'm willing to do this just for the sake of, because if I get this right, holy crap, I got this right. And that is that Ruby is, when they say, oh, we're both foundlings, and no. Ruby is the foundling. Ruby is alt universe baby Prime that what's her face?
Oh, the original baby.
crazy
so
scientist mama fetched out from the rift.
Or the Doctor is not that foundling.
This is Dr. Prime.
Okay, so this is the original Doctor.
Ruby's Dr. Prime, and that the whole two heart thing develops, or all the other Gallifreyan Time Lordy kind of DNA aspect comes in over the course of how many iterations that this child,
like all the experimentation,
all the forced regens and things.
You go ahead and send me that quarter. Let's get a jump on this.
Okay.
Or you could just give it to me because Jay owes me a quarter.
We'll save ourselves on the postage.
Just save on the postage of a quarter going through the mail.
Okay.
What did we think overall about this episode?
It's interesting that it was the first episode of the season because it felt like mid-season filler.
By plot, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, just the kind of storyline that it was. Like, it's not bad or anything. It's just, like, you're not going to look back and be like, that was my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah, if you take out all of the exposition, all of the getting the audience caught up, then yeah, it would have slotted very nicely into the middle of a season somewhere.
I don't think you could do that with it because it had to have some of that stuff at the beginning. So I think it was a good start to something new as the for another way to put it, like it's the Wendigo episode of Supernatural. You had so many of those up front, and then all of a sudden it's big arcs, big stories, bringing back in the lore that you need. So I think it filled that the need to be what it was, and I think it had enough danger, whimsy, travel, and then I hope we don't have to do it again. Like, go back in time, go forward in time. Now let's do what Doctor Who does really well, which is deep dive into these stories and the what's coming next.
And I think I land on the positive for this story. I think it is enjoyable. I think it has the ability to hold up over time because performances are that enjoyable. The pacing of it, the balance of the silly and the humorous and the dangerous, the chase sequences, and I think you're hitting all of those things that you would want from it. Is it the perfect primer episode? No. Is it something that actually works pretty well to that effect if you take it with the predecessor in the holiday episode? Sure. You take the two of them, you've got pretty much everything you need, and you've got a taste of the spectrum that the show is capable of within two stories. So yeah, maybe that's fine, and maybe that works to Disney Plus's credit at the fact that it calls those episodes 1 and 2. And it kind of works out advantageously that way.
It's going to be the whole series whenever people go back and watch that you just start all the way at the specials and go all the way through the end of the season and then go back to that. That's your cycle. It's just watching all of them. We'll find that out later, but that would be a guess. We have the opening 2 episodes in hand, but recent cast and creator interviews imply that the final 2 episodes will be particularly important for the mystery of Ruby's origin story. We got a bit of that in some quotes from Russell. So how do we feel about what we might see waiting for the finality of the series in order to really know what's going on in that arc?
I mean, I think it's kind of something that we had speculated might be the case when we watched the church on Ruby Road, that this is going to be the big arc of the season.
Right. And that family was going to be the theme, but different than the way it was being handled during the Amy and Rory kind of family. Not that kind of a thing. This is more of a family beyond the where do I come from, where do I fit in sense of family.
Because they're really kind of, it's not a mystery that they throw out there and then leave dangling for a bit. They're hitting it really hard and heavy in every episode. So you need a resolution fairly soon before people get tired of it. So it makes sense that it's going to be the end of the season. Yeah.
You can't bad wolf it for 4 seasons.
And letting us know that it's going to be something where, no, it's okay, folks, we are going to address this, but we've got some adventures we want to have first. So we'll come back to this in about 6 stories or so, if you don't mind. It is, I think, a practical marketing decision to put that out there and let that be known.
Stick with us. You will be rewarded even if we're not getting to it right when you think we should, which is the next episode.
Right. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. I think it's highlighted in the interview as well, but we are getting a lot more open, honest communication from the Doctor about where they come from and all their history, how they feel about it, at least in this iteration. And I think that's really important to note with the episode we just watched, as well as where it seems like they're going to travel in that journey together, in finding who they are, where they come from.
Yeah, we realized in Church on Ruby Road that we were going to at least accept Flux as canon. And now it seems like even though the whole toy maker interaction had the opportunity, or even maybe took some steps towards trying to pack all that away, not fully retcon it, but at least give it some sort of underpinning that said, yes, well, that's fine, but focus over here. This gives me the inclination, or gives me the the thought process that says, okay, we're going to find some way to actively dovetail them to everyone's hopeful satisfaction.
Yeah. But hang on to it with us and wait and see, because we have a story for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to close.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been episode 519 of Gallifrey Public Radio. Until next time, this is Jay saying, Space Babies!
And this is Kier saying, Poots in space!
This is Julie saying, "Ow!"
And this is Haley saying, call your mom.
We'll see you next time.
And I'll see.
Ow!
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Gallifrey Public Radio. As a fan-run podcast, your thoughts and opinions are part of the conversation. Leave us a comment or review on your preferred podcast app, find us on social media to message us, or visit GallifreyPublicRadio.com for email and voicemail contacts. We'll see you out there in time and space.
Hi, this is Jacob. This recording of Gallifrey Public Radio is copyrighted in 2024. GPR is a fan-owned, fan-produced podcast. We'll see you next time!